Good morning, traders. It is Wednesday, January 13th. Taking a look at the charts, we got the SP 500 futures. Today we're seeing futures trade a little bit lower. We're still testing this 5-day moving average, this light blue line here. Yesterday we dipped below it, got back above it. Now, if we look at yesterday's price action over here, you can see how we dipped below it, we rallied back. This is the 5-day moving average overlaid on the 30-minute chart. So we're holding above that, but notice that most of yesterday we actually saw strong buying. There was 3-to-1 on this buying ratio, meaning there's 3 shares being bought on the ask, every one being sold. And usually when we see that ratio, we have to look for some type of short-term pullback in the market. And we're seeing it pull back a little bit this morning. So overall, this market is trying to find support. Hopefully, it'll continue to hold up and break higher, but overall it's having a little consolidation here at the 5-day. Might start get a little bit choppy here, kind of cleanse the market, dip back down, and then we'll see if it can get a run back to the upside. Now, if this does start to unwind, we're probably going to see it dip back down towards the 20-day moving average down here and get into some type of oversold territory. But right now, the market continues to just kind of flag out. It's had a really nice run from an oversold level. It's flagging out, and we could start to see this find a bottom here soon and try and push higher. Now, if we look at the Russell 2000, yesterday had another really strong day. It had a rally from an oversold level, flagged out, and then yesterday it opened higher and continued to push up. So definitely the strongest index at this point, continuing to push up and hold its ground really well. Now, if we look at bonds, we're finally seeing bonds have a little bit of greenness on the chart. Yesterday it sold and flushed down pretty dramatically, came back to close on the high of the day yesterday. So today we're seeing it bounce back a little bit more, only 0.2%, nothing too significant, but it's coming up and it's tagged the 5-day moving average here and it's pulled back already this morning. Overall, we'll see how that starts to shake out. Bonds have a long ways to go before they'd even be considered to be a trade. They're more or less in a bear market stage now, so not looking to get too excited about bonds. But if they do start to break above the 50-day, that'll be the early sign that we are starting to see life come back into bonds, which means fear, global fear, is starting to pick up quite dramatically. But again, we're nowhere near there at this point. Today for metals, we're seeing gold trade a little bit higher. Zoom in a little bit here. Again, these are inside bars, and as we know, inside bars are pretty dangerous. An inside bar, let me just grab some drawing tools here. Here's a massive red bar, and then if you carry that across, these all become inside bars. They're inside this bar, and those are known as a consolidation, just to pause before that move continues. If you take this, I can't really do it with that tool, but if I was to grab the distance of this, let's just grab this tool here. We say we take this box here, and then we drop that box to the downside. It gives us an idea of where the downside target for gold could be. Whoops, if it breaks down going forward. So you can see how it consolidated and then broke down and had another big move to the downside. Well, now we got this big bar. We got these inside days starting this. They could last another week or so. We are going to be underneath all these moving averages. So there's definitely a lot of resistance. There's a lot of price through here. We had a consolidation through here, a pivot high, a lot of price traded, all these pivot lows through here. So this could very easily turn into a bear flag and continue to have that second move down, just like over here, a big drop, a bear flag, and the continuation, the second half of that move. So that's one concern with metals. If we look over at silver this morning, it is down about 0.6%. It popped all the way up to the 5 and 20 day and has already started to sell off and roll over here this morning. So again, same type of pattern. It could flush down. Overall, a lot of damage was done to the chart. Long term, it still looks good. It's still got a big trend, but on a short-term basis, it's definitely lost some momentum with those the big down days and breaking some previous pivot lows. Now, if we look at gold miners this morning, just move up so we can see the lower chart. Yesterday, gold miners closed right here. Gold miners are set to open slightly lower, so they are still heading down. If we look at silver miners, the same thing. They had a run up this morning. A nice run up this morning, but now they're picking up speed to the downside, trading back down at 1548, so lower than yesterday's close at 1561. So continue to be under pressure here, and they could continue to move dramatically lower if we do see this market continue this trend, this downtrend. Now let's take a look over at Hale, which is our play. It had a nice pop there yesterday, big gap and go, really took off, hit our 20% target. We scaled out, so now we just have a runner left. We've sold out at a quarter of our position at 7% gain, 15% gain, and 20%. And so now we just hold the runner. If this thing goes parabolic and continues to take off or runs a bunch more, our 15% trailing stop, we just keep ratcheting it up, trailing the highest price that it makes, and you just take 15% of the highest price down, and that will be the trailing stop. So now as this starts to move up, our trailing stop will start to drag up and follow price with it. And we stay in this trade until we either get stopped out with that trailing stop, which could be much higher, or it could be obviously 15% down from where it is right now, or the stock market gives us a sell signal to close out positions because the market's not favorable to own stocks anymore. So we'll see which comes first, and maybe we'll look for some new trades. I do feel like the stock market is on the verge of starting to roll over and reset and give us a new batch of trades. The last real batch of trades were right here of our top three sectors. This is when the market resets. You can see the difference. So the last trigger was right over here. You can see this green box. This is when we had the trigger for Hale. This is just a hot list trade that we got into. You can see it's had a really nice run, but when you get into a major signal, that's when you see new money pile into the stock market. It's when you see the big cycle to the upside. And the ban hot list trades have a lot of power. I mean, we're up over 20% already. But originally, when we get into a new market signal, you can see the difference in power between volume and the size of the move. So very exciting stuff. And Hale was one of the last triggers here on November 6th right here. So it's up dramatically from that last signal, and sometimes the same signal pops up over and over again. It's up over 42%. So definitely one of the leaders here on the chart, top three out of our list. If we take a look at some recent triggers here, we've got ARK-K 3 days ago gave a trigger. It's down 0.75%. It's had a pop of a pullback. It looks primed and ready to continue to go higher. This looks like it's starting to get it's set up for another strong pop, but I think volatility could pick up in terms of it has a big pop, has a quick pullback. But overall, again, it's one of the leading stocks. It just had a signal 3 days ago, and it's on the verge here of having another run. Again, really nice strong volume in this sector. Continues to move higher with volume supporting it, and this looks like a ready for another pop. Another one we talked about last week was OIH. It opened, gave us a signal here. It's had a huge pop. Yesterday morning, I talked about how it looked primed and ready to have a big move. You can see it opened yesterday at 9:30 and just had a massive run for the first more or less hour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars. So 70 minutes into the day, just nothing but straight up, and posted another big gain, over 6% yesterday. So that's up 17% in 6 days. Pretty amazing. Another one that recently triggered this year is ARK-W. This one, very similar to the innovation, the ARK-K. The pattern looks the same, so they probably have very similar holdings here. But again, it's popped up. It's having a little pause. It looks primed and ready to continue to move higher as well. Another one was the MJ. It's up 8% in the last 5 days. It's had a big pop. Looks like it wants to almost continue to run and take off. This looks like a little bit volatile, more volatile of a pattern. Overall, it's had a really nice run. They gave a signal over here, but of course we couldn't get into the next day. If you were to play this move, it's up over 8%, which is pretty nice. Everything's pretty much hit its first target from these green boxes here when you get these new entries. And let's take a look. XRT, the retail sector, has been on fire, just really taking off the last week. You can see how it's just soared to the upside. It gave a trigger here. So it is up roughly about 5.5% in the last 1, 2, 3, 4 trading sessions. this sector really coming back to life and muscling up. If you zoom back here, I mean, it's amazing how retail has just come back to life. When we all thought retail was dead and it was going to be internet businesses, retail is screaming to the upside. It's the way the market likes to move. What you'd least expect is can be sometimes the big leader going forward. Anyways, that's it for this morning. And you can see here we've got the indexes at the top, and the most powerful index, the best index right now is the Russell 2000. It just triggered, let's just take a quick look at this. It triggered 4 days ago, another band trigger. So let's just move in here. You can see 4 days ago, it took a little bit of a pause and then it reversed to the upside. And so it's just starting to pick up speed again to the upside. Then we've got the Nasdaq is the second best. It's bouncing, pullback, bounce, pullback, bounce, pullback, bounce, pullback. It looks like it's primed and ready to try to move higher. And the SP 500 isn't quite as volatile, so it's not hasn't moved quite as much. Although it does have a nice pattern. It's had a nice rally and a pause and pullback here. Again, the overall market looks like it's ready for one more push, another 2 or 3 days to the upside, and I think we could see a more significant weakness in the market, but all the short-term patterns are showing that we could see a pop really soon here for the overall stock market for one final push. The Dow, nice pop, consolidation, and the continuation pattern. Just looking at this, obviously it's you could argue it's 1, 2, 3 days to the upside. So we have got potentially 1, 2, 3 days to the upside in the stock market. They all have a very similar bull flag pattern. If that happens, then we could start to see the market have a bigger correction and pull back. But if we do get that, we're probably going to see hail really take off and pop to the upside. When the stock market does correct eventually, it's most likely going to pull metals and miners down, and we'll be probably happy that we're out of those and look for a new trade when the time comes for that sector again. Anyways, that's it for this morning. Talk to you in a bit. Bye-bye.